Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the African American Genealogy Society of Fort Wayne, Indiana, and our workshop today on indexes and lists. I'm Al Brothers. I'm the vice chair, and I'm coming from the great Allen County Public Library Discovery Room. So I certainly welcome each and every one of you today, Saturday the 17th, and we certainly appreciate your joining with us. Just a reminder that Genealogy Society typically meets the second Tuesday of the month at the public library or on Zoom, depending upon the situation. And we'll have a monthly workshop like this one, typically the third Saturday of the month. So thank you and welcome. Now let's get started with our program. Now the program talks about lists and indexes. And these are our questions. What are our research challenges? What are our lists and index? And how are they used? You can see this. Genealogies use a wide variety of records in their research. They are very, very far-reaching. And to effectively conduct genealogy research, it is important to understand how the records were created, what information is included in them, and how and where to access them. So for the lists and index, we will do this today. So what are our goals for today? First, we want to understand genealogy lists and indexes. Then how do we use them? Where can we find them? And some of these are truly unique, and I'll share some examples of each one of them with you. Now, genealogy lists, what are they? What is the definition? The first bullet talks about a list of things such as names or addresses belonging to a particular category. The second one talks about a set of them. A third talks about, again, names or addresses, all that belong to a particular category. And notice I said written down. I have down below my definition. A list is an ordered compilation of things, events, names, records, etc., with a common theme, purpose, or reference. It may contain additional data or information. Now, here are some typical types of record types, and many are associated with either lists or indexes. And again, we're talking about vital records. We talk about adoption records. We talk about bibliographies, cemetery lists, census records, religious records. And some of the bar bat mitzvah, again, the bar is for the males and bat is for the females on that one. Again, this is my favorite, city directories and telephone directories. Those are neat. Coroner's reports, court records, diaries, DNA tests. If you take a DNA test, you'll get a fantastic list of those who you might be associated with. Immigration, and naturalization records. Those are key. You talk about lineage organizations, land and property records. These are associated with that. Medical records, military and conscription records, newspaper articles, and obituaries. Now, here's some of the sources for them. Ancestry.com, Family Search, our state archives and libraries, our federal archives. We talk about the Library of Congress and the Census Bureau. Military archives. Each one of our military organizations, in fact, has their own archive. The Freeman's Bureau, and that's a fantastic reservoir of information relative to lists of all types. And Google Search, it's a fantastic tool to help find many of these. Now, here's some of the examples of when I talk about a list. We're all familiar with federal census records. And again, they started in 1790 and moved on. City directories. Towns also, in some cases, had directory. We talk about pensions, Civil War and Revolutionary War. We talk about voter lists. This next one, cemetery burial lists, are interesting. Most of the cemeteries have a listing of people who are interred there. And again, sometimes if it's a church, the church may hold it, or if it's an organization, the organization may hold it. And it's a fantastic reservoir of information about perhaps the day and time that the burial took place, as well as perhaps even other information relative to it. I point out the next one because it's an interesting one, the Massachusetts Census and Voter Lists. Because Massachusetts, like a few other states, had their own census. In Massachusetts, it was in 1855 and 1865. So again, you can compare and contrast who was living in that household in that time frame. Tax rolls are great information sources. Another couple, a list of genealogy websites. Again, as you do your research, again, a list of applicable websites is a fantastic resource. An example, a list of Alabama genealogy resources. And most of our states have a similar resource. And the last one is just an example from the Freeman's Bureau, the Freeman's Bank list of depositors. So again, if you had folks who lived in the South and did participate with the Freeman's Bureau, they may have started a bank account and they would be part of that list of depositors. Now, what's different? An index. Now, an index, it is a list. And again, or citations arranged in alphabetical order. And it may give things such as topics or names. Again, a couple are a list of publicly traded companies and their stock prices. Bibliographical analysis of groups of publications. And that comes from the Merriam-Webster Dictionary. But my definition is an index is an ordered list of summary information that points to a specific reference document, which I will call the original source and its location. Now, this is another explanation, or what are they? The most popular or familiar index is one found in a book. And again, they're typically alphabetical listings in the back of the book. And genealogy indexes similarly work in that same fashion. They're a finding aid to help us locate original records. And an index of original record sets includes, at the very least, a name, but in some cases, additional information such as dates or locations. While it's an important step, but remember, it's only the first step, and it should be followed up with the original records. These are typically summary records and pointing aids. Now, we talk about key indexes and databases for original records, and these are a partial list of certain types. Vital records, death, marriage, and sometimes birth. Church records, and again, I have sources for some of these, and so that you can, in fact, use that source to find them. Obituaries, passenger lists. And again, it's interesting when a boat would land at Ellis Island, again, there was a list. The boats that came into the United States, and again, my grandfather traveled as a seaman between Canada and Massachusetts, the East Coast, and his name is on a list, in this case, as a worker. He was a chef on a ship as far as that goes. So again, those passenger lists are fantastic because it provides you a name, a date, and perhaps a country of origin. Obviously, the census records, again, found on a couple of places like Find My Past or Ancestry. And other index records may include naturalization records. And again, my grandfather came on board in the U.S. around 1908, but didn't become a naturalized citizen until the late 1930s. Tombstones. And again, a cemetery may have a listing of tombstones, or the town itself may have a list of tombstones at each one of its cemeteries. Local, and we're talking about county and country histories. Military indexes, again, a list of people in a particular regiment or unit. And deeds, the list of deeds for a particular community. Let's take a look at some of the source examples for indexes. Cindy's list. We'll come back and talk a little bit later about Cindy's list. It's a very interesting category of information. The Family Search Catalog, the Ancestry Catalog, the Social Security Index. Again, when perhaps you go to Ancestry, you'll get an index. It's not the final bit of information relative to that person who has passed away, but it's an index to information or where you can find it. The International Genealogy Index, PERSI, which was founded here and is located here at the Allen County Public Library, is a fantastic source for periodicals and information regarding people, places, and events within those articles. An example of another one is the Connecticut State Library Marriage and Death Index. Another one is a Massachusetts U.S. Death Index from 1901 to 1980. Again, these are indexes. It shows when, there's also one for marriage as well, but it gives the name of the person and the date that they get married and a page number, or in a book perhaps, where you'd find that information. Now, what sources are available? Let's take a look. And many of you, some may not be here in Allen County, but your local library may have information. They may have books, newspapers, things on microfilm. They may even have digital resources as well. Local churches, in many cases, have resources that are available. Again, they'll have indexes, perhaps even the sermons, indexes to marriages, indexes to funerals. Photo albums. Again, your family photo albums may have indexes talking about who or what family is involved, where they were, perhaps the date. Your oral family history gives you some idea of the life and times of people. And again, they may contain lists and other things as well. Your local genealogy society may have information relative to family and people, companies and the like that reside or live in that particular community. And again, when I went back to Groton, Mass, I was able to get information on some of my family I had not seen before, because they had some of the newspaper clippings that I didn't have. The local historical societies have fantastic reservoirs of information about the history and the community as it evolved and developed from the time of its inception to the present time. Fantastic reservoir of information relative to that particular community, and also relative to key people in that community. The local schools themselves can have information. And again, in some cases, things like yearbooks, programs relative to graduations or musicals or anything else along that line. Many schools keep a catalog of information like that. So again, it's a fantastic reservoir of information. I did a presentation on a particular photographer from Fort Wayne, Peter Turnley. He's an internationally renowned photographer, and found out from the local schools information about him as he grew up. He and his twin brother were both school photographers, and they were lauded for their particular photography of events, people, and things and the like at the local high school. As we look at online and other resources, to me, that's key. Again, because we are now a digital community, these are some of the tools that may be available to you. And I might point out many I found at your local library. Ancestry.com, obviously being the top one. Family Search, MyHeritage, military sites, Fold 3 being a fantastic resource for military information from the Revolutionary War on forward. And the service sites themselves, Army, Air Force, Navy, Coast Guard, Marines, also have fantastic resources. Newspapers.com and others also have a wealth of information about newspapers that you can search. And again, they'll go back to the earliest foundings of the newspapers in the United States up to the present time. And I might point out that our National Archive also has a fantastic newspaper resource. Our Allen County Public Library website has a fantastic amount of information relative to not only what's here, where it's found, but also things that you can tap in directly from at home. As I look at how do I research, these are the key tools that I try to use initially. Ancestry.com being one, Family Search being another, Fold 3 being the third. But don't forget Google. Google is a fantastic tool to search for lists, maps, indexes, you name it. Again, an easy and free tool to use. But don't also forget that books themselves have lists and indexes in them. Go ahead. Oh, so, was that you, Kurt? Okay, no problem. Now, let me show you some examples, because examples are a neat way to help learn about this. Now, this one here, and if you take a close look at it, is what I would call a list from Allen County. What it provides is a list of inhabitants of Allen County. It's hard to read a little bit, but it provides their occupation, their age, where they're located, and the like, where they came from, where they were born. So again, this is an example of a local list like a census. We talk about a city directory. Now, this is the one from the District of Columbia. And again, it was, it has the Yates family on it. And that's the reason I picked the page. And what it does do is provide information about the location of individual Yates family members. This one is a District of Columbia census. And again, this is a typical census types. And again, some census records are more comprehensive than others. But this is just an example of one. One of the key things I like about census records are the fact that they'll go in some kind of sequential order as that particular census taker goes down a particular street. So again, you're able to find out not only your particular ancestors, but friends, neighbors, and others are associated around them, and find out about their lives a little bit through the census themselves. And as you try to track your relatives, lists like this help you track others who move with them. Now, this one I like is a statement of, let me go back here one here, I'm sorry. Again, for pension payments. And again, I want to point out a particular name here, Thomas Hazard, who's my fourth great-great-grandfather. And again, he was a private. He received $80, 240 total dollars received. He was in the Massachusetts Continental Line. And when he was placed on the pension roll, May 4th of 1883, and the pension itself commenced on 1883, and his age was 73 at the time. So again, this was based upon an act, March 18th of 1818. And again, there was another pension act, June 7th of 1832. So again, this is a fantastic list of people, participants in the Revolutionary War. And this particular list is strictly from Massachusetts. This is a little harder to read, but I wanted to give you some insights and to show that some records are a lot harder to read than others. But again, it also is a record of people and places. But this one talks about people receiving payment and when. So this is a payment record, again, for Revolutionary War soldiers, when they were paid. Now, this one is a different kind of schedule. And this is the schedule of whole number of persons within the divisions. So again, what it has are males, females, who are free, and free colored persons. So again, it does it by age. So again, if you were trying to track down a relative from this particular location, if you had their name, you could find out roughly how old they were based upon the information provided there. We talk about lists. Now, this is a membership list. This is a membership list of my squadron, B-57 squadron in Ubon, Thailand. Yes, I'm listed here, Al Brothers. I was a pilot there as far as that goes. But again, it shows the airplane and all of the members, both pilots and navigators in my squadron. You notice in terms of crew members, these are only crew members. Now, again, we had a whole host of people who were supported us, whether they be mechanics, cooks, you name it, supply people. But these people are the ones who were the frontline fighters, I'll say, in that term. Now, this is an example of a 1965 census. And the reason I brought this one up because it shows ancestors, Monroe, the Monroes here. And for this one, it says soldier. So again, it talks about where they were in that particular time frame. And I had 4 of my, in this case, great uncles here who were in the Civil War and served at the same time. Let's take a look at some of the index examples. Now, this is an interesting one. This is the index to births in Massachusetts between 1891 and 1895. So it talks about it again, the last name, the town they were born in, the year, the volume, and the page that the information, that more information is found. So again, this is an index. Now, this is an index to marriages in Massachusetts between 1941 and 1945. So again, it gives you some insights in terms of, again, based upon the last name. The very last top up here is Monroe, which is one of my family names. Then the first name, the town, the year, the volume, and the page. So again, this is an index that leads you to further information. Now, this is a Civil War pension file index for a name hazard. And again, of the 21 relatives that I had that fought in the Civil War, only one died, thank goodness. But name hazard survived, and this is an index to his pension file. And again, it gives the application number, the certificate number, and the state from which it was issued, Massachusetts. And he served in the Massachusetts 55th. Now, this is a pension record, a widow's pension record for an Army widow. And again, based upon the Act of June 27th, 1890. It's for Susan Monroe. And again, her husband was Charles C. Monroe. And he served, actually, an interesting man. When I teach a course on military history, I bring him up because the first time I ran across him was in a record, a census record, where he was in reform school. Later up, I guess got a little wiser from that. He joined the Navy and served in the Navy. When getting out of the Navy, he then went into, this case, the Cavalry, the 5th Colored Cavalry, and that's where he served and was retired from. So again, this is one based for an Army widow. Now, this is an extract from a Social Security Death Index, and this happens to be from my father. It talks about, again, my father, where it was issued, his date of birth, his date of death, his age, the fact that it was confirmed, his last residence, Canton. It was a hospital in Canton. So again, this is just an index that has more information about it in another document. This one I like. And again, I found it here doing research for this one, an index of Revolutionary War pension applications in the National Archives. And this is dated 1976. And again, I wanted to just show you the right column. It was hard to get information on it. But again, this is my 4th great grandfather. You notice the name is spelled differently, H-A-S-Z-A-R-D. So it's spelled 3 different ways, with 2 Z's, 1 Z, and an S-Z. But again, it shows his name, Thomas, where he came from, Massachusetts, and his number for his record. The S means survivor. Now, if I go down here to Caleb, Sally Caleb, she is a widow from Massachusetts, and it shows it's a widow record. And again, below, Lucy Dan from Connecticut, and it's a former widow. So again, it gives you some insights about the records and the like. And someone asked a question originally about information on plantations. Well, this one is just one of the many documents here in the Allen County Public Library. It's an index to the guides of the microfilm edition of records of antebellum Southern plantations from the Revolution to the Civil War. So this is an index. And this is just a sample page. It talks about the surname. It talks about the title of the collection. It talks about the microfilm series and part. So again, it talks about where you can find the information and the title of the collection associated with that information. Now, what are my secret sources? I call them secret sources. The sources are catalogs, systems within both ancestry and family search. They provide tremendous information relative to lists and other things, and I'll come back to that a little later on. And those can be searched online. I do want to say, at this point, I'd like to take a step back and look at all kinds of search strategies. We talk about DNA analysis, but it provides a list of those who you match. Courthouse records provide a list of people involved in particular courthouse dealings. And it talks about both current and past county and state boundaries. Again, this is important because I know in Massachusetts, some of the communities split up. One large community became a medium-sized community and 3 smaller communities, and all 4 have records. We talk about census records, both federal and state. We talk about city and town directories. Let me go back here. Tax records, fantastic resources, and property records also, both of these. Because if you remember in the South, slave owners were taxed on their slaves. Military records. We talk about Social Security records. We talk about land records. And a community has a listing of all of its land holdings and all of the owners that own that land. So again, these are fantastic tools for you to work with. I do want to point up, and before I go online to show you a few things, lists are standalone records, which do provide collated data, and indexes are pointers to records and are I use the term summaries of data. And I want to just stop here real quick here. I want to go back, and I want to go back to my screen here, and I want to bring some, let's see, where is it here now? Okay. Now this is Cindy's list. Hopefully everybody can see it. And again, when you take a look at Cindy's list, you can take a look at the category and indexes, all of the states themselves and in our territories. And again, many of the related categories themselves. And there are a tremendous amount of lists within that category. So again, this is a fantastic tool for finding lists. Let's see, back here. Apologize, folks, here it is.
Can I help, Dr. Brothers? Do you need any help?
Let me get a new share here. That's what happened. Okay, I thank you very much. I appreciate that. And at this particular point, I want to say, are there any questions? Anything? I provided quite a bit of information here, but you yourself may have some insights in terms of questions that you may want to ask myself and others. And I've got Kurt is here. Kurt Richard is here, and again, another fantastic resource. Let's see here in the chat. Were the questions in the chat? Let's see here. Yes, there is a handout for today, and hopefully you've gotten it here. And you saw the website for Cindy's list. Again, a fantastic resource.
If you have a question, you can either go to reactions and click the you can click the hands up, or if you're in the chat, you can click that you have a question. You can also type your question in the chat.
And is Kurt's online? And Kurt, do you have any things you'd like to add as well?
I think you did a really nice presentation, Dr. Brothers, of various different kinds of lists. As you said, you portrayed a whole lot of information. I didn't know, Dr. Brothers, if you were trying to get to a particular website and it wasn't coming up for you.
Yeah, it was. I was trying to get back to one, and I was trying to get back to. I was going to go to ancestry.com, and I can do that here separately, and then bring it up.
Right. I would just open it on your laptop first and then share screen. But yeah.
That's you get it right. Yeah. And that's exactly what I was going to do here. Let's see.
In the meantime, Dr. Brothers, there is a question in the chat. Jesse Gibbons is saying, please expand on Cindy's list.
Okay. Let me see if I can bring another one up on Cindy's list for you here. There's another one. That's a little bit that came up. There's supposed to be there's one that's a welcome one, and that's the one I was trying to find here, because it's the one that provides an awful lot more information on it. But it's a tool that covers many different kinds of lists.
And Kurt, I've made you a co-host if you'd like to share your screen. Or Dr. Brothers, did you find it?
Well, not the one I was looking for.
If you would like, Dr. Brothers, I'd be happy to share my screen with Cindy's welcome list.
Sure,
and then,
please.
You just talk and I will try to navigate it according to what you're articulating.
Sounds good.
Okay. So can everyone see Cindy's list?
Okay. You've got the category list here in terms of locations. And I like that. Why don't we go to Massachusetts on that one?
Okay.
And again, when you start talking about the indexes, again, you're going to see a whole things about marriage, birth, death, cemeteries, immigration, laws and states, military. All of these are interesting. The one, would you pull, let's see here. Let me see if I can pull the one. One, I think, can you tack on taxes down below there?
Okay.
Again, it shows that Ancestry itself has got a fantastic reservoir on listing for taxes, criminal records, land, and wills. So again, that's another fantastic tool. It comes up here. Okay, you want to click on tax lists. And again, if you scroll down, it talks about what the information contains. And it talks about imposed by the government for many different reasons. It talks about the US IRS taxes. And again, what it has are also sample images relative to different kinds of tax sources. There's one that says US IRS tax assessment list for 1862 to 1918. Want to click on that for me? It's hard to read, I think.
Let me try that one more time.
I guess this is just a short summary. But again, what it does do, it shows you again when you get home on your own computer, a sample of what that list looks like. So again, taxes have been going on since time immemorial here in the United States. Both the federal government and state governments and local communities have also imposed taxes. And again, those records reside at each respective level. Okay. Let me pick up one other thing. Kurt, let's see here. You want to go to card catalog there. It says view all in card catalog. Okay. It's a little green thing on the right hand side. There it is right there. Because this one gives you all kinds of lists. And again, it talks about the tax records. In this case, Grove County books and lists of residents. Nova Scotia, Canada, okay? My folks on that, poll tax rolls. So again, these are all kinds of lists associated with records that may pertain to your family. So again, the card catalog is a separate tool that holds I'll use the term, a master reservoir of information. Okay. Okay. See, can you go back to Cindy's list for me? Back one more, I guess, probably. Okay. One of the other ones that I'd like to show you from Cindy's list, again, are maps and geography. One of the key things that are important as we do genealogy is recognizing that the boundary lines for states and communities varied over time. And what this does in Cindy's list is provide information relative to atlases, county boundaries, rare maps, and the whole gamut. So these are other tools that allow you to better understand where your family is from and what it looked like in that time period as you try to do research. I do know Groton, Massachusetts, for example, was a huge community at one time, but it broke out into 4 communities, Groton itself and 3 other smaller communities. So again, depending upon the time period, would indicate how you would find records relative to your family in that time frame. Okay. Hey, is there another question for us?
Yes, Roland Stringfellow typed in the chat, it seems as if when you find ancestors who were enslaved, we hit a brick wall. What is the benefit of investigating the family of slave owners in gaining more information about our family?
The key thing, their particular, again, the tax rolls may provide information relative to men, women, and children at various ages. So again, it may give you insights in terms of your family. When I went online to find out about my family in Virginia, I went to the slaveholder, and again looked up his last name, and that's where my family came up with some of the last names that I have. Ball, the Ball family, for example, which is part of my family tree. Again, it gave me some insights in terms of who might be there based upon the sex and age at that particular period of time. And if you take a look at their wills and the like, in many cases, as they passed slaves from one person to another, and again, it can either be done by will or can even be done by sale. But again, it gave you more information. And in some cases, it gave the information about the individual's name, first name, typically, as far as that goes. They only went by the first names. So again, it gives you a snapshot in time to work further back. I know one of the problems we're all going to have is the fact that slaves didn't necessarily stay on the same plantation or the same farm. They were moved on or sold and the like. So again, it's difficult tracking people, and I admit that. But one of the 2 ways that it can occur are tax records and sale records as far as that goes, if you can, or sales records if you can find them. So again, don't ever stop trying to find your ancestors. One of the things I might recommend in a particular community, if you know where they were enslaved, you might check with the local genealogy society to get more information. They may have some insights and records there.
Dr. Brothers, there's another question from Lena Ely.
Okay.
She writes, I would like to see you find an index and show us how to find the source it refers to, what to do with it, and what to do with it next. For example, some will indexes just give a page number. How do you find the actual will within that same microfilm?
In some cases, in that case, the will may itself not be on the microfilm. You'd actually have to go to the courthouse or repository to find it. As I point out, in many cases, the indexes point to the repository and the information that resides there. The one thing that I'm trying to think about, the birth records are one that might show you the listing and the page number. But I can tell you another way of doing it is going to ancestry.com and typing in the name and see if you can actually come up with a birth record. So again, for me, I found out that those indexes and lists are tools and pointers for me to find something else. As I mentioned, a list is a standalone item. It's the index that'll point you in a direction to find something. What I have found in most cases is that when I used an index, I would come back here to the Allen County Public Library, for example, and find a source, or I'd go back to Massachusetts to the Massachusetts Archives and find that source.
Are there other questions for Dr. Brothers?
And Kurt, please chime in also, because I know you have a wealth of knowledge on that as well.
Well, you really presented, Al, some really amazing lists. I don't want to get in the way of any questions, but maybe toward the end, I can show everyone a compliment to Cindy's list. Cindy's list is great, and it's a great place to go. But there's another kind of similar list, if you will,
Sure.
that also provides some great information. But I'll wait until there's no more questions.
Here is another question. I
Sure.
have spent hours looking through the microfilm, and the wills are there, just hard to find. Just wondering if there was an easier way.
The only easy way that I could think of, if it were in fact indexed digitally, and then on that microphone was actually in digital form, it might be easier to find, because there are finding tools on in a computer system that might help you find it easier. I agree, it's hard. I've gone through those roles as well, trying to find information. Kurt, I think that's the only way that I think I could do it would be if that roll of film is in fact indexed and copied in a digital file.
You're absolutely right, Dr. Brothers. And it's a mixed blessing. There are so many more indexes than there are actual copies of wills and probates online, because those files tend to be so large. Both Family Search and Ancestry are on a decade-long project to try to digitize all the probate records in the United States. That's like trying to eat an elephant in one bite.
Right.
It's not done, but it's getting better and better. But there are far more indexes than our actual wills and probates online.
And with the time remaining, are there any other questions about indexes or lists, or we can open the floor up for other genealogy questions?
Hey, Kurt, do you want to show us what you found, what you recommend?
Sure. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen real quickly here.
Sure.
This is the Genealogy Center's homepage. And if you go under this link here, Explore Genealogy, just click on that. And this Family History Archive Complementing what you said, Dr. Brothers, if you click on this, you'll get some really nice lists. But I always like to show people Link Pendium. It's a great complement to Cindy's list. Cindy's list is awesome, but Link Pendium, you can search for your surnames, or you can search for, in your case, Dr. Brothers, Massachusetts, and it gives you hundreds of thousands of links. So here are the localities, over 1 million localities in the United States, and here's your surnames worldwide. But if we go to your state, Dr. Brothers, Massachusetts, you can see all the counties lined up in alphabetical order, and it tells you how many links, or it tells you the size of the list for each county. So we can pick whatever county you want to, Dr. Brothers.
Okay, why don't you pick Middlesex?
Okay. We click on Middlesex County. What I really like about this, again, a great complement to Cindy's list. Sometimes it's helpful to remind ourselves the counties adjacent to the one that we're searching in, because of boundary changes. And then it mirrors Cindy's list in that it lines up alphabetically all the major subjects or topics. So biographies, cemeteries, census and land. We can scroll down to probate, see what's listed there.
Sure.
In this case, it must be under wills. So we'll keep going, and there's no wills or probates online, or else it would have been a link there. So if we wanted to go to tax lists, we would get links to particular tax lists. And then it tells you the source, where it's coming from: family search, ancestry, etc. If there's a little $ after it, it means you probably won't get full access unless you have like an ancestry membership. But I just thought that would be a nice compliment.
Oh, yes, it is.
Thank you.
Thank you. I forgot about that. Thank you very much. That is a fantastic tool, searching tool. Yes, that is true.
And I have placed the link to the Genealogy Center page in the chat.
I do want to point out that in many cases, if you find lists or indexes and you have difficulty, you might check with the local genealogy or historical society in that situation. As I mentioned, I found information in Groton. I happen to go there, but again, they told me, said, send me an email, and then we'll see what I can find for you as far as that goes. So again, they themselves have tools. The other thing was that the Groton Library also had tremendous resources. Again, local resources that in some cases the Historical Society did not have. The library had. The library had a fantastic wealth of local newspapers, for example. So again, use all the possible resources that you can. I do want to point out that again, if you're local, come to the Allen County Public Library and talk with our genealogy librarians, because it may reside here.
And Dr. Brothers, since a part of the mission of the African American Genealogical Society of Fort Wayne is to connect our community, what if you just kind of go through and ask each person what surname they're looking for? You know, we might make a connection that someone here is searching for, you know, a family that someone else is also looking for.
Sure. If you want to either put it in the chat or tell us, we'd be happy to help, because again, that's our goal. I know when you sign up for our genealogy society, we do ask you what surnames are you looking for. So again, please, and also locations. The other thing is locations as well, because it's friends, associates, and neighbors that also can help point you in the right direction for your respective relatives.
Jesse Givens, would you like to begin? What surnames are you looking for and what location?
I'm looking for Givens, surname of Givens, family settled in Fort Wayne for some time, but just tracing back the family history, particularly my grandfather, trying to find out some more information on him. I do not have basic information on him whatsoever. But I'm sure with the continued focused research, we can come up with something. But if anybody knows about the Gibbons family, apparently there were at least two of them
Okay.
there in the Fort Wayne area.
Wayne, okay.
Hmm.
Well, I'll jot that down. Sure. Thank you. Okay.
Thank
And
you.
someone,
And in the chat, Cynthia Martin says she's looking for the Babb family in Tennessee. Babb, B-A-B-B.
Tennessee. Okay.
By the way, Dr. Brothers, you mentioned that some of your relatives had that surname of Ball, B-A-L-L.
Correct.
Since were they also up in Canada and possibly related to Samuel Ball?
The balls that I knew, again on my mother's side, the didn't were actually only centered in Virginia that I'm aware of at this point in time. Doesn't mean something had moved up. It just means those are the only ones I'm aware of. For example, the Brothers family, again, is scattered all over Canada, in that situation. So again, it is entirely possible. I don't ever discount it by any stretch of the imagination.
All right.
Bab, okay. Whereabouts in Tennessee were they?
That would be Cynthia Martin. Cynthia, whereabouts in Tennessee?
What I knew was Nashville.
Oh, Nashville, okay. And what is the latest information you have on them? Or do you have any at all?
No, not, I just have information on my family here in Fort
Oh.
Wayne.
Okay. So they migrated from Tennessee to Fort Wayne then, is that correct?
Right, correct.
Do you know about what time frame?
No. No. I don't know very much about when my grandfather came here.
Okay. Well, it sounds like what we're going to have to do here is set up a research workshop.
That may be next, yeah.
And I have no problem with that. And now that, again, the library is really open, we could in fact do that on one of our Saturdays. Actually sit down and I actually, set up search strategies as I have, again, from my family to try to set up a tool so that I know what kind of information I'm looking for and where I might be able to find it. I saw someone ask a question about the benefit of coming to the library itself versus online. There are many things here in the library, for example, books and other items in the repository that are not online. I found the annual report for one of the communities in Massachusetts. They actually had a book on, for X number of years relative to births, deaths, and marriages. And again, I found my family records in there, but again, that was not online. It's just the book itself. So there are many things here at the library itself that are maybe indexed or maybe referenced, but the actual document, is not online itself. So I think that would be great.
Yes.
Excuse me, Doctor.
Yes.
To Cynthia Martin, that on her inquiry, I'm wondering, has she completed the pedigree chart at all?
No, I just got the, I did go back. Oh, I do on ancestry.com. They gave me hints and all that. So I do have that kind of information. But as far as it's just basic.
Okay. Well, what he was alluding to in terms of the workshop here in-house at the library, for anyone to really get started, to have a good path on the information, we would highly recommend that you do start off with what you do know about your family on the written pedigree chart.
Okay.
To actually document your information, your mother and father's information, what you know about your grandparents, and then we'll have a better path to direct you in your research. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
And when you get that much done, we'll be more than happy. I don't think you've ever had the one-on-one training.
No, I didn't.
So So let's get the pedigree chart filled out to the best of your ability, and then get you scheduled for a one-on-one. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
You're quite welcome.
I see Camilla, Camilla has her hand raised there.
Hi, Dr. Brothers. My question is, would people be able to find information in the cemetery? Like if you know who your last living relative is and who they're buried, I mean, and where they're buried, you contact that cemetery, and on the cemetery, on the index card, might be the name of another relative.
That's true.
Or the husband or the sister or the grandchild. So calling the cemeteries might lead to helping people. I don't know.
Yeah, because remember, somebody had to buy that burial plot off, and that's again, that's the way to find out how that occurred. Someone bought the burial plot, someone bought the stone and the like. Someone requested an actual burial service there, the whole gamut. Those records typically reside at the office itself. So again, that is one way of doing further information, getting further information. It's true.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Dr. Brothers. I want to point out in the chat, it looks like there's a connection with Roland Stringfellow and Lena Ely. Mr. Stringfellow is looking for Stringfellows, and Lena Ely asked if he was related to the Spicers and the Fords, and apparently he is.
You never know. That's true. It's fantastic. Okay. Well, great. I promise. Again, we get our time is approaching here, but I think what I'd like to do is do number one is again, for those that haven't had a one-on-one or some kind of search here in the library, try to set up a search workshop here locally so that we could get together and help each other in as we further our family search. Again, for information and more relatives. So maybe we can do that next month. I'll work that out with our president here and see if that might be something that we can do. And again, I'd like to set a schedule sometime on a Saturday, because that most of us, or say many of us, have a little more time on Saturday than we may have during the week.
I would also, excuse me, like to point out that members of our society receive a 2-hour session when they join. And I know that some of our members are not in Fort Wayne. That can be an online, virtual session.
Sure can be.
If you are not a member, we would love for you to join. Membership is just $15 for the year for an individual. I believe it's $25 for a family. And then I believe it's $50 for a business. I will put information in the chat. If you haven't already gotten your 2 hours, please put your name in the chat and we will get you scheduled.
And thank you, Ngozi, for bringing that to everybody's attention, because I was about to follow up with that myself. I think it's very important to get that one-on-one. And if you actually have the ability to come here to the library and receive it, it's even more beneficial, because you actually get to see the collection and a hands-on utilization of the collection in terms of printed matter and what's accessible through the internet here at the library. You'll be able to set up a research plan for yourself and how to use the information that's available at your fingertips, which is quite costly from home. So we can help, as also indicated, if we have that you're not able to come one-on-one, I'm sure we can work out something remotely where we can actually look at the information and share with you what we're finding, and be able to feed that information to you electronically. It's important that everybody understand that our mission is truly to help you know how to do the research yourselves and spread that skill abroad so that we can get more people involved in doing this family search. It's so important, culturally speaking, community, and nationally. There's so much going on that each of us that has the opportunity to give voice to the ancestors do exactly that. So on my part, as chairwoman of the organization, I really, really hope that you will reach out to us and make us stand up to what we're committed to. And so those of you who are in town who haven't had that one-on-one, get in touch with us. And we are going to try to keep these sessions coming on a continuous basis to touch on subjects that will carry us forward. All of us hit brick walls, no matter how accomplished we are in our research.
And I saw two names. Jesse Givens requested a one-on-one, and Cynthia Martin did also. So we'll work through with our secretary and our president to help get those things set up. So thank you.
Great.
So again, I want to thank you for joining us on this great Saturday here, and I appreciate your support and help. And as we work on our journey of discovery together, I want to say thank you, and I look forward to again seeing you next month here at a workshop or something else. So thank you very much for being with us.